Thanks. Please be seated. Honorable members, the first item on the order paper is questions addressed to the Deputy President. Members may press the talk button on their desks if they wish to ask a supplementary question. Their names will appear on the screen and we will recognize them according to the order as it appears. The first question has been asked by the Honorable B.A. Hadebe. The Honorable, the Deputy President.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. In relation to the first question, I think all of us know that our country engages quite extensively on the continent to promote peace and stability. Last year, President Jacob Zuma asked me to be his envoy in relation to the conflict in South Sudan. And in that role, I was able to travel, as the honorable member asked, what I did in October of 2014. I was able to travel to South Sudan and met with a number of leaders, President Salva Kiir, the president of South Sudan, and a number of leaders in his party. I was also able to travel to Uganda, met President Museveni, also to Ethiopia and met President Miriam Desalegn, and also to Kenya. And all these countries in that region are involved in the IGAD peace process that is being facilitated by the the AU rather. I was also to meet the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Madam Nkosazana Zuma Dlamini, and in all these discussions we discussed how peace and stability can be fostered in South Sudan, and we principally addressed two issues. The one issue was reaching a ceasefire in South Sudan where all the parties can work together to bring a cessation to the hostilities. But we also got involved, having been asked by the SPLM in South Sudan, in dealing with the key issues that still face the SPLM in Sudan, South Sudan itself. So we've been involved in these two tracked processes, and now of late we've been joined by the ruling party in Tanzania, Chama cha Mapinduzi, as well as the ruling party in Uganda, trying to bring about unity in South Sudan through uniting the SPLM. Earlier this year, the SPLM factions, if you like, were able to reach a reunification agreement which provides that the SPLM will be reunited, and those who are either in Kenya and those who are in Ethiopia as well as in other parts of South Sudan will get together in Juba with a view of ensuring that the SPLM is once more united. And at the governmental level, as we speak now, the various components of the SPLM are involved in discussions at the IGAD level, trying to finalize a deal that could possibly lead to a major breakthrough. So the whole process is a process in which South Africa has been actively involved in. Thank you very much.
I believe Honorable Masango is taking charge of the follow-up question on behalf of Mr. Hadebe. Honorable Masango.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much to the Honorable Deputy President for your elaborate answer. Indeed, for your facilitative role in South Sudan. My follow-up question is, what instructive lessons can we as a country learn from South Sudan? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy President.
I guess the instructive lessons we can get from Sudan is that peace is the most important aspect of any nation's life. Peace and democracy and institutions that are well structured and well functioning. South Sudan is a young democracy. It's struggling with getting to grips with those issues, and this is where we can give them a great deal of assistance, but we can also learn what we should not do. As a country and as a nation, we should continue building and strengthening our own institutions, be they political party institutions, be they governmental institutions. Those are institutions that we should pay attention to with a view of ensuring that they are strong, they are robust, and that they are able to support democracy. Thank you.
The Honorable Lekota.
Madam Speaker, thank you, Deputy President. Deputy President, could you please educate us here whether the intra-party talks that are being facilitated by South Africa and Ethiopia, are they indeed running concurrent with the Intergovernmental Authority, the IGAD process? And if so, are they really taking a direction in which we can see an outcome of constitutional settlement in the near future?
Honorable Deputy President.
Yes, the two-tracked processes are meant to bring about peace in South Sudan, and the intra-party discussions are critically important in that that's where the real problem started, within the SPLM itself. And we, as South Africa, and particularly as the African National Congress, have been paying a great deal of attention to that and assisting the South Sudanese. But the intra-government process is also important, and that is being processed in Addis Ababa. And these two processes are working along each other in tandem, and soon the parties will return to Juba. And once they are in Juba, we believe that that will strengthen the whole process, and peace should be restored once and for all thereafter. Thank you.
The Honorable Hlengwa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Deputy President, it's common cause that in such situations of conflict, there will be an increase of instability and people movement and so on, and will result in quite a number of people becoming refugees. The question would be, what is being done in that situation, South Africa's role in assisting and facilitating the movement of refugees, in particular in the South African context, the recent xenophobic attacks, and educating South Africans about the dynamics of the home countries of those citizens, and us understand that they will need to be here should the situation continue to escalate as it does, and them needing a second home. Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy President.
We are keeping ourselves well informed about all those challenges and problems that are given rise to by conflictual situations like war, and in particular in South Sudan, our embassy and all its officials are intricately involved, as with other countries, African countries, and indeed countries from other parts of the world, in assisting those who are going through hardships now. Many people have been displaced as a result of the war and the conflict in South Sudan. And as you know, many people have lost their lives. So we are closely monitoring that situation, and where we can, we are giving as much assistance as we possibly can. And it is an important aspect of any country's work, the country that seeks to assist, And in this case, South Africa stands ready to assist the people of South Sudan in whatever way it is possible. So in the end, we're not only assisting them in streamlining institutions and bringing about peace, but we are also standing ready to assist as much as we can at the humanitarian level too. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Mokhalapa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Deputy President, we acknowledge and commend the role that South Africa plays in peacemaking and conflict resolution. Given the protracted peace negotiations and broken ceasefire agreements between President Key and former Vice President Mashar's loyal forces, how confident are you, sir, that this round of dialogue will yield long-lasting solutions? And what kind of resources extra needed for you to achieve this objective? I thank you.
The Honorable Deputy President.
The good thing with the South Sudanese conflict is that the two leaders have met on a number of occasions. At the beginning of the conflict, we struggled to get them to meet and to talk. We now have achieved a level of success in that they do meet. As it is now, both of them, I'm informed, are in Addis Ababa. They are now involved in a further round of negotiations, which is aimed at working out what type of government they will have. As it is now, they are talking about the structure of their government, the nature of their government. So I think a lot of success is being made. We continue to work with both of them at the party level, and once in the next few weeks we get both the SPLM in opposition and the SPLM in Juba and the SPLM in Kenya to go back to Juba, that will be a major breakthrough, and that is already being planned. As regards what resources we are going to need, the current resources involve really traveling there, traveling to the various countries in the region and meeting people and facilitating the peace process. Beyond that, we have not expended a lot more resources. Thank you very much.
We now move to question number 2, which has been asked by the Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Maimane. Honorable Deputy President.
As members would be aware, the issue that the Honorable Member Maimane has asked are subject of 2 legal cases at the present moment. I've been reliably informed that hearings in relation to this matter will be happening in our courts in the next few days. And for that reason, I feel constrained to answer the question because the matters are before court, and I've been advised that it is best to let that legal process ensue, and thereafter one can put forward views. Safe to say that I'd like to state as a matter of principle that in Parliament, I believe that it is correct that we should have a free flow of information, and the incident that occurred here, as the President said as well, should not be allowed and should not happen again. And that I'm prepared to say. As regards the specific issues that he raises in his question, I'll be willing to answer those once the legal cases have been concluded. Thank you very much.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Ke a leboga Motlatsa Mopresidente. Deputy President, in fact, I welcome your response, and I want to clarify the fact that the matter about the use of police is not, in fact, before a court yet at this stage. I think it's also important to note the fact that, honorable members, the Constitution makes provision in Section 91, Section 91(4), that in fact the leader of government business is responsible for the affairs of the national executive in Parliament. Now, we cannot debate the fact that the police and the use of security agencies as signal devices form part of the executive. So it will be for me a point of interest to find out when, in fact, the Deputy President was informed. Secondly, that in the removal of an entire caucus, not just members who were speaking on, who were asked to leave, the removal of the entire caucus from this House, whether or not in future, going forward, I hear the guarantee that the Deputy President, I'd like to know more specifically, should similar conditions prevail, i.e., I ask a point of order, ask a question, will in the same conditions, will the Deputy President be willing to give a guarantee that the use of the same security measures, extraordinary security measures such as police, signal devices, and removing of members, in fact, not be allowed in this House? I would like to get a guarantee from the Deputy President to ensure that that never takes place, noting his constitutional obligation on this matter. Thank you very much.
The Honorable the Deputy President.
Madam Speaker, ke a kgolwa re utlwile karabo ya ka ke ile ka re ditaba tse di mo lekgotleng yaanong ha di le mo lekgotleng a go kgonatsege gore mo nna ke arabele ditaba tse setseng di buiwa ko lekgotleng ke kopa gore a amogele gore nka se kgone go arabela potso eno ka bane e mo makgotleng ke a leboga.
The Honorable Olomisa.
Point of order.
What's the point of order, Honorable Steenhuisen?
The point of order, Madam Speaker, is that we rely in this House on precedent and convention. There have been rulings in this House made from that chair before that govern the sub judice rule, and I'd like to address you in terms of the guide to procedure where it sets out that the chair should apply the rule in such a way as, and I quote, as to impose the minimum limitation on open debate. This means that members should be allowed to refer to a matter before a court, but cannot discuss the merits of a matter before the court. I would submit to you, Madam Speaker, asking the Deputy President to go into specifics about the merits of the matter before the court. There is a broad principle that we're asking him to agree on, to answer on, and that is his view on the use of police in this House. It's not the merits of what happened on the 12th at all. It's not the merits of a case which, incidentally, is still not before a court. But it's a simple question, and we would ask an answer for it.
Honorable Deputy President, can you answer the question?
Madam Speaker, I believe I have answered this question. And I have answered the question. It could be a matter of opinion on the honorable member's side, but it is my view and my opinion and my advice that since this matter is before the courts, and indeed there are two cases that are running with this matter, and they are going to be heard in court, I am quite willing and prepared to answer questions with regard to this matter once those cases have been settled. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy President. I think, Honorable
Madam
Member, I
Speaker.
want to rule that is the answer of the Deputy President, and he will be ready to come back to this House and answer those questions once they are
Deputy
done.
Speaker.
Madam Speaker, may I address you?
Madam Speaker,
Who is calling on me?
on your right, please. On your right.
Oh. Yes, Honorable
Yes.
Member. Honorable Chief Whip Steenhuisen, can you take your seat
But I was
in the meantime? Honorable.
With due respect, Madam Speaker, does that two questions can be asked from the same party at the same time?
No, that was a point of order from the Honorable Steenhuisen, so it was not a question. Okay, honorable members, Honorable Steenhuisen, we can't, I don't know what, put the Deputy President on the floor and extract the answer from him. The Deputy President has given his answer, and that's as far as we can go. We can't dictate beyond that. But he's coming. He's promised that he will come back. I now want to move on to the next supplementary question, Honorable Steenhuisen.
May I address you, Madam Speaker?
On what, Honorable
On this particular
Steenhuisen?
matter, Madam Speaker, and I'd refer you to the Hansard of 1998, second session, column 208, where there was a ruling from the chair, and I quote, references to cases in the courts and to the facts in the cases would not be a violation of the sub judice rule. I hear what you say, Madam Speaker, that the Deputy President is going to come back. We were told last year the President was going to come answer questions. We're still waiting for that.
Honorable Steenhuisen, let's take the word of the Deputy President in good faith, and the Deputy President indeed will come, as he has always come. I now call upon Honorable Olomisa for the next supplementary question.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Deputy President, sengiyabona ukuthi uligwala these days nobhala wami. Uphendula nje umbuzo ufuna uzubanjwa. In relation, andizazi ke lamankentshana angcola apha emva kwami bathunywa ngubani na. In relation to the original question, media has widely reported that on the said day, you intervened through the Minister of State Security.
Chair.
Is that true? If
Chair.
so, does that
Point
not
of order,
constitute a breach of the important principle of separation of powers? Ayidibananga necourt le iyangqo kuntoba imedia ithi uthini apho mhlekazi?
The Honorable Deputy President.
Honorable Speaker, I'd just like to say to Honorable Holomisa, ngifuna ukuthi ngimamele Honorable Bantu. Unganibiza igwala ngoba nguwe igwala wabaleka apha kuthi. Wathi umka andazi ukuthi bowubaleka ntoni. Ngoba ufala ukuthi ube ungapha. Anyway, Honorable Olomisa, I have heard of such media speculation, and I expect that the issue that you are raising will also be raised in one of the court cases that is underway. And without even beginning to say, I don't want to answer these questions, I'm quite happy and willing and prepared to answer all these questions, to be quite honest. But I'd like to say, I'd like to answer them once these cases are over, because there is a view that I'd like to put forward in relation to all these matters and the incident that occurred the other day. So, Madam Speaker, that is what I request. I am bound by the advice I've been given that I should wait until these matters have been finalized. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Mbata of the EFF. Honorable Mbata, your name is here for a follow-up question.
Thank you, Speaker. Honorable Deputy President, will you please share with us when Honorable Mahlobo, as he was seen, Mahlobo, as he was seen giving you a note, will you share with us what is it that we're telling him? And will you agree with me, Deputy President, that the jamming of the signal was deliberately done so as to hide the ill intentions that you had of assaulting and dragging members of the EFF out of the chamber?
The Honorable Deputy President.
As I said, Madam Speaker, I'm quite willing and prepared to share all this with members, but I am, as I said, constrained by the fact that this matter is before court. And in relation to notes that pass amongst members, my own observation is that there are many notes that go around in this House from member to member on an ongoing basis. But if, as the media has been speculating, that there were notes that passed between myself and Honorable Mahlobo, I would like to address that once all those cases are over. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Likota.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Deputy President, in the SONA debate, we raised an issue which we thought has nothing to do with the cases in the courts. It's the question of sections 4, 5, and 11 of the Powers and Privileges Act, which, in our view and judgment, that act is in conflict with the provisions of the Constitution. In those sections, it grants the presiding officers of Parliament powers to usurp executive powers and command the security services of the country. Nothing could be more in conflict with the Constitution. When is the presidency going to return that? We requested that it be returned to Parliament, so that Parliament should amend that, expunge those sections, and make us consistent with the Constitution. It is dangerous to keep that act in place, because the reason the police could come in here and assault members of Parliament is because of that anomalous situation. And this is very urgent, sir. Can you please do something about this?
The Honorable Deputy President.
As I understand Honorable Likota, he is actually pleading that something must be done with an act of Parliament and that we should look into it. And I hear him, and I'm sure that he's prepared to motivate this even a lot more than what he has done. We always open, Honorable Likota, to hear views and suggestions. And speaking for myself, I'm happy to hear Honorable Likota coming across so constructively, putting forward a view that he would like us to consider. We shall consider what you are suggesting. Thank you.
Madam Chair, on a point of order.
What's the point of order, Honorable?
Madam Chair, I want to demonstrate that the President's answer is insufficient. The Deputy President's answer is insufficient. And as a result of that, and for the fact that the answer is insufficient, we cannot come to terms with the answer of this nature. When this House has been ransacked, vandalized,
Honorable Member, I actually...
And when is this chair going to be fixed?
I did not...
And this demonstrates the violence which was visited upon us.
Honorable Member, please take your seat now. You have demonstrated. We now move to question number 3.
Madam Speaker.
Which has been raised by the Honorable Shibambu to the Honorable Deputy President. The Honorable Deputy President.
Madam Speaker, on a point of order.
What's the point of order?
I'm rising on Rule 1106. Questions to the Deputy President are required to be submitted 9 days before the Deputy President appears in this House. And that is so that the National Assembly table can have a look at them, the Deputy President's office can have a look at them, and prepare responses to them. If the Deputy President was going to come here today and hide behind the sub judice rule, I think it would have been far more honest of him to have indicated that when the questions were tabled in his office, rather than wait for the day to come here and refuse to answer the questions in the House. If the Deputy President had failed to do that, I think that the National Assembly table should have then ruled these questions out of order to enable the opposition to have put forward other questions or prioritised other questions. But what has essentially happened today is the Deputy President's been allowed to hide behind a spurious interpretation of the sub judice rule, and the opposition has been denied an opportunity to exercise oversight over him.
We note your points, Honourable Steenhuisen, and I'm quite sure the Deputy President's office have also taken to heart what you are saying. Can we move to item number 3, question number 3, which was asked by the Honourable Shibambu? Honourable Deputy President.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'd like to thank Honourable Shibambu for this question. What he has asked is not a new phenomenon for developing countries, and particularly for many of our countries on the African continent. Us as a country, since 1994, our government has worked hard to ensure that we have institutions and systems and structures, but institutions such as the South African Revenue Service and the South African Reserve Bank to look closely at the matters that he has raised. Working together with these institutions, as well as prosecuting authorities, we have made, I would say, a great deal of progress in closing the loopholes that can be used for tax evasion. As I indicated in my previous response, Honourable Member, the legal and financial regulatory framework to deal with illicit financial flows has been significantly improved in South Africa. It is sound and effective, and the South African Revenue Service continues to expand its revenue collections as a result of this. At the continental level, the recent report of the high-level panel on illicit financial flows from Africa aims to assist the continent to deal with this problem in a collective manner and take steps to radically reduce those outflows and ensure that Africa's development resources remain within the continent. The report itself recommends that existing laws, which have proven successful in combating illicit financial flows, should be replicated as global best practice and standards. It is noteworthy that the very same report makes mention of how South Africa's tax laws enable our country to deal with a case of abusive transfer pricing and successfully reclaim up to $2 billion of unpaid tax, a lot of steps to enforce our efforts to combat financial leakages. Thank you very much.
The Honourable Shibambu.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I think there might be maybe some degree of conceptual confusion about tax evasion and aggressive tax avoidance. And the question that we have posed to the Deputy President is in relation to aggressive tax avoidance. And the high-level panel on illicit financial flows says that the $2 billion US, that is 20 billion rands or more, was recovered only from one multinational company. Not from the whole phenomenon, because you know that the phenomenon of transfer pricing and illicit financial flows defined virtually all practitioners in the mining sector, including Loanmen, which Shanduka, which his company has got shares on. Just over a very short period of time, 2.1 billion was lost into some subsidiary company of Loanmen into Bermuda situation. What exactly are the proper legislations that are in place to deal with that? Because we don't have a framework that combats that phenomenon. If there was framework, the crisis of transfer pricing and illicit financial flows was not going to be worsening, because If you are saying from 1994, why is the crisis deepening? If there's legislation, if there is prosecuting authorities that are paying attention, why is the crisis deepening? 600 billion rands is lost to illicit financial flows. Like in South Africa, it goes to trillions of rands. That is annual, the one of 600 billion, like trillions of rands that are lost because of mining operations, which some of you are beneficiary of as the directors of these companies. What exactly is happening with regards to legislation? Because what you're giving now is a reflection of conceptual confusion and wrong information in terms of the actual phenomenon.
Honorable Deputy President.
I don't know where the conceptual confusion comes from. The Minister of Finance addressed this issue, but much more than that, there are quite a number of initiatives that are underway. The Davis Tax Commission is dealing with this matter and will be coming up with a number of proposals that are going to make sure that these illicit financial flows, be they in the form of transfer pricing or invoicing that is often incorrect, are actually dealt with. Now, I think we need to applaud our South African Reserve Bank as well as SARS in that they have been able and they keep a very, very close watch on this, including the Financial Intelligence Center. They keep a close watch on these flows on an ongoing basis. And I think with the legislative proposals that the minister will be coming up with, we will find many ways of combating all this. Now, as the member is so well informed about all these matters, what I think would be also most helpful is for the member to come up with suggestions on how all these things that he's aware of can be stopped and combated. This is an area where I would say we all need to work together to come up with the bright ideas that he seems to have so that they are put on the table. The Minister of Finance, as he brings forward legislation, can actually even act on the wonderful suggestions that he will have put forward. So this matter is being addressed, and there are legislative instruments that are going to be put in place. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Nkomo.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy President, what are the estimated amounts which could have been added on the economy through legitimate inflow of taxes, noting illegal transfer of monies and non-payments of taxes by more than 500 multi-millionaires and multi-billionaires in our country? Just an estimate. And one other area which we would like to know is what type of measures through legislation. I did note when the Deputy President stated that there are lots of things that are being done. If maybe the Deputy President could give us about 3 to 5 main issues that are being done to stem the outflow of illicit finances, and what sanctions through legislations are in place to bring all the culprits to book, noting the issues which came out of the newspapers 2 to 3 weeks back, where we have a lot of people that are having finances in some of the banks that are out of the country. Thank you.
The Honorable, the Deputy President.
The amounts that are involved in all this are actually quite startling. They are huge amounts. And the good thing is that they are now on the radar screen. In some cases, they mention up to 1 trillion rand that could have left the country in the past decade alone through the activities of large corporations, wealthy individuals, as well as criminal syndicates. A Washington, D.C. research and advocacy group, which is called Global Financial Integrity, believes that South Africa suffered illicit financial flows totaling more than $122 billion. Now, they say that this money, and that was between 2003 and 2012. Although they say though not all of this money would have found its way into the state's coffers, some of it should have benefited the fiscus, they say. So there's quite a lot of money that should have found its way into the fiscus. Now, it is precisely this that I'm saying. The Minister of Finance, indeed SARB, as in the Reserve Bank, and SARS, and the Financial Intelligence Center have this on their radar screen. And already the Davis Tax Commission has latched onto this, and this matter is going to be addressed. There will be legislative instruments or proposals that will come forward to combat this. This is money that should not be leaving the shores of our country. Now, the important thing is that on a global basis, this has now become an area of focus, and in our country as well, various institutions are beginning to focus on this and look at it. Thank you.
The Honorable Gamede. Honorable Gamede.
Speaker, mine was pressed on the second question for follow-up, and I'm subject to your ruling.
Second question.
Yes.
The one that we've already passed.
Yes.
Okay.
You skipped it.
No, your name didn't appear there. So we now move to Honorable John.
Thank you, Speaker. South Africa seems disinterested in exercising political will to tackle the problem of illicit financial flows. The Deputy President said in the NCOP that capital flows are necessary for economic growth and that the Reserve Bank and SARS monitor the in and outflows of capital regularly. Illicit financial flows also relate to and fund human trafficking, possible terrorism networks, and other illegal activities. Given recent reports that have painted South Africa as a hive of terrorist activity, with wanted militants freely going about their business in the country, how and why have our financial intelligence, police, security, and intelligence services not prioritized the goal of shutting down these illicit financial flow conduits in the country? Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy President.
I think it is safe to say that this matter is under regular consideration. And as I said, there are those institutions that are continuously looking at this, and they go literally beyond the Reserve Bank and SARS. They also involve our security agencies as well. So those agencies are keeping a close watch on a continuous basis on all these matters, including, human trafficking as well as illicit financial flows. So I'd like the member to be rest assured that the government, through the various agencies and institutions it has, is keeping a close watch with a view of making sure that our resources are safe. And soon we will be closing all the loopholes, or as many loopholes as we possibly can, because we're dealing with criminals and criminal syndicates that always reinvent themselves and reinvent new ways of doing things. And we're also going to keep making sure that South Africans lead their lives in safety and security. So all these things are being looked at closely. And a number of my colleagues who are here, who are dealing with security matters, are on a daily basis seized with these matters, looking out for people, institutions that want to flaunt and do a whole number of things with regard to our laws. So I'd like to give him that assurance that we are looking at all this. Thank you.
The Honorable Khoza.
Mhlonishwa Sekela Mongameli. Notwithstanding the fact that the Standing Committee on Finance has dealt extensively with price transfer, illicit trading, and tax avoidance in its exercise of fiscal oversight, and that such a matter can't be dealt with in unison. Within this current economic environment, would you kindly unpack the additional measures that SARS and possibly the Reserve Bank that have put in place to curb illicit financial flows in a manner that will boost our current economy as it is contracting? Thank you.
Honorable Deputy President.
SARS and SAB have a number of measures as it is now. What is now underway and taking advice and taking various proposals from various institutions, including, as I said, and I've said this a few times because it is an important institution, the Davis Tax Commission, are going, the government that is in as in SARS and SAB are going to be examining all those proposals and a number of measures that may not be curbing tax avoidance, illicit financial flows, and transfer prices. If the measures that we have at present are not doing the work effectively, those will be tightened up. And the advice and proposals that are coming from the Tax Commission are going to be very helpful indeed. And to this end, the work of the Portfolio Committee is also commendable because as they exercise their oversight role, they do come up with...
Honorable E.M. Mthethwa.
Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Shibambu.
I thought in terms of the follow-up questions, it's supposed to be 4 questions, and the Honorable up there forfeited that time for him to ask a question. Is it possible that we take the name that is coming immediately
No,
after
Honorable, we've taken 4 supplementary questions already, so we're moving on to the next.
It was 4 including Honorable Gamede.
No, Honorable Shibambu, please take your seat. Can we move to the question asked by Honorable Mthethwa and call upon the Honorable Deputy President?
The question is on language. And I think all of us will agree that language can be seen as a vessel in which a society tends to store its memories, its experiences, and its history. And if you allow that language to disappear, those memories, experiences, Africa remains a critical part of our nation-building effort. And this is entrenched in our Constitution. Cabinet approved the National Language Policy Framework in February 2003, and this framework aims to promote the equitable use of all our 11 languages, the official languages. This enables the citizens of our country to access government and to be able to interact with government, to get information from government, and indeed to get services from government as well. Currently, government is implementing the Use of Official Languages Act of 2012 as a means of promoting the previously marginalized languages and multilingualism, and also to foster equitable treatment of all our 11 official languages. This act requires that by May this year, every national department in our government, public entity, and public enterprise must have adopted a language policy. It also provides for the establishment of a language unit in each of these public institutions. It is hoped that this approach will be emulated by the private sector and indeed other organizations. I believe that it is in the best interests of the private sector, acting through their companies, to embrace multilingualism. They typically have a diverse workforce and also have diverse customers, and all their supply chain is also made up of diverse people who speak various languages. And one hopes that the private sector will be able also to do what government is doing to promote the utilization of as many of our languages as possible. This is a task that needs to be taken by all of us as South Africans in all our institutions.
The Honorable Mtetwa. Honorable Mtetwa.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Honorable.
Thanks, Deputy President, for your answer. But in terms of the training, what is the government is going to do, government's doing to train the African language teachers and better resource the African language department at university? Linked to that, Deputy President, is the question of promotion of the sign language, and especially also as well as the Khoi and sign languages. Chair. Thanks, Deputy President.
Deputy President, Honorable.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We have promulgated quite a number of acts that deal with language. And one of those is the Use of Official Languages Act and a number of other instruments. And what I do know is that the utilization of various languages is now being promoted actively in our educational institutions. And the Minister of Higher Education is on record as saying that at the higher educational levels, we want to be promoting more and more, even in our universities and TVETs, the utilization of the various languages that are used in our country. So training is going to become an important component that follows that, because with the focus that we are now beginning to have on this, training has to follow. And I'm confident that that training is going to continue happening. The Constitution of our country endears us all to not only use various languages, but to promote their usage. And indeed, the sign language as well falls in that category because it is also mentioned in our Constitution. So utilization not only of the official languages, but various other languages that are used by South Africans have to be promoted, would like to see them being utilized more and more, and as part of that, to see people being trained in the utilization of this language. And the association that has been formed, which is called the South African Language Practitioners Council, is also aimed at regulating the language profession. And through this association, I'm sure that quite a lot of training will also take place.
The Honorable Mulder.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Deputy President, for the answer. I agree totally with what the Deputy President had said, but our experience is really exactly the opposite, and that what he said there remains theory in government. You know, this House adopted the language bill, we had debated it, and now it must be implemented. And the feedback from government is that they are not serious to implement the requirements of the bill. The Deputy President might know that the implementation already had to be postponed once because departments could not reach their deadlines. And if they don't move very quickly, they're going to miss the deadlines again in May. So my question is, what will the Deputy President do to put pressure on the cabinet ministers and the departments to avoid another postponement, because I'm worrying about we're going to do for that again, or then another court case, because that's the only way to force them to implement the bill. Thank you.
Honorable Deputy President.
Ek is baie bly dat Honorable Mulder stem saam met my. Ek is baie bly. Wat gaan ons nou doen? We are going to obviously follow this matter up. Ons sal dit voortgaan sodat dit moet mooi hanteer word. It must be followed up properly, and I'm glad that you have raised it. If we have passed a law, it needs to be implemented, and if there are any blockages, those blockages need to be removed. And it's a matter that can be given attention to, and I'm glad you're raising it, because we need to implement the laws that we have passed. So thank you very much for being so constructive and raising it in the manner that you are. Thank you.
The Honorable Mweniso.
Chair, I'm taking the question. Thank you very much. My question has 3 parts. Part A PenSalb, Honorable Deputy President, was allocated between 2013 and 2014 7,180,000. Can you please indicate what has it done to promote indigenous languages? And then part B, wouldn't you agree that the inclusion of the stem in the national anthem to supplement Nkosi Sikelel of Enoch Sontonga is actually an indication that indigenous African languages in and of themselves are not adequate to represent the national imagination inclusive of everyone? And then part C, at this stage, shouldn't we have already instituted in the Constitution the Khoisan language as an official language of South Africa? Thank you very much.
Honorable Deputy President.
Honorable Ndlozi, the issue of PenSab and the 78 million is a matter that I don't have any knowledge about right now. I'm willing to gather information, and I'm willing to write back to you and give you some information on what has happened in relation to the programs of PenSab and what they've done with the money. I'm quite certain that they've used the money in one way or another to promote by one way or another, I mean to promote their programs. And I'm sure, and you seem to be quite knowledgeable on some of their programs. Some of their programs would be promoting indigenous languages. I'm sure they will have used their money to do so. I'm actually quite surprised to hear you say that insertion of the stem in our national anthem was meant to replace Nkosi Sikelel as the one composed by Sontonga. Maybe I didn't hear you correctly, but whatever it is, the crafting of our national anthem was an outstanding effort at nation building. When our flag was crafted, that was nation building. When our national anthem was put together, and let me say that it was put together by a plethora of people, South Africans, united in their desire to rebuild their country from the ashes of apartheid. They all decided that let us compose a national anthem that will unite all of us. Today we have that national anthem. And let me say, whatever doubts we may have, that national anthem, which includes the stem, which includes Nkosi Sikelel, has served to unite us as a nation. And beyond that, we've also a number of other things that are of a nation-building nature. So I'd like you to accept that doing all these things have been aimed at one thing and one thing only, to unite South Africa as a nation and unite all our people so that they can derive a great deal of pride in their South Africanness. And you will have seen that in the crafting of our coat of arms. Our coat of arms has been crafted in a way that represents our origins as a nation, which takes me back to the question that you have asked about the Khoi language. The Khoi language is clearly addressed in our Constitution. And if you read our Constitution carefully, it says what we should be seeking to do is to promote the usage, and that also means the development of those languages that are utilized by South Africans, so that those languages are never ignored, those languages are never relegated to the back. So the Khoi language is one of those languages that has to be promoted. And a number of South Africans in our own country speak the Khoi language, and many of us, as we do our political work, interact with them on an ongoing basis, and we get a full sense of how they feel about their language and how they would like us all to join them in promoting their language so that their language becomes well developed, becomes a written language, So I think we should all join hands together to promote other languages. And as they get promoted, and as we get to speak those languages, the better nation that we are. Honorable Ndlozi, our task here is to build a nation. And these are some of the things that we're working with.
The last supplementary question is from the Honorable Msimang of the IFP.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. While we do compliment the government intentions and efforts to promote our languages and cultures, there are members of the public who still come across officials in government offices who refuse to address them in any other language except their own. Question is, what is the government doing about such tribalistic attitudes? And secondly, what relief is available to members of the public who are confronted with these tribalistic attitudes? Thank you.
The Honorable, the Deputy President.
Tribalism and racism and sexism is one of those deviant practices that our Constitution has a clear position on, and we all as a nation should be completely opposed to. Now, being opposed to that should also mean that whenever we encounter racism, whenever we encounter tribalism, we must stand up and speak out against it. When we finalized our Constitution and ended with 11 languages, and let me go back a little bit. When we were negotiating that Constitution, I recall an occasion when I sat down with Rolf May and we were talking about the final languages of our country. And he sort of casually said, of course, it's got to be English and Afrikaans. And I said, what about the other languages? And he said, no, maybe it can be English, Afrikaans, and Zulu. And I said, what about all the others? And I said, we speak 11 languages in this country. And in the end, the languages that we will enshrine in our Constitution have to be languages that unite all our people. That is how we finally came up with 11 languages, official languages of our country. And we have the languages that were in the past marginalized, disregarded, and put in the dustbin. Today, all our 11 languages have equal footing, and they should have equal recognition. And there will be occasions where we encounter people who prefer to be spoken to and addressed only in one or other language. Our Constitution and the precedents that we've got in our various courts tell us that you are allowed to address whoever is an official or in authority in the language of your choice. So if you are listening, which you are not doing at the moment, I would say to you that whenever any one of our people has to get either a service from any government department, they are entitled to speak in the language that they are most proficient in. And that should not be seen as being either tribal or anything like that. Tribalism is something that we should banish completely from the face of South Africa and never see it again in this country. Thank you very much.
That concludes questions to the Deputy President.
Honorable Chairperson, on a point of intervention, order.
Thank you, Honorable Ndlozi. What is the point of order?
Chairperson, with your guidance, what happens when the response of the people we are asking questions is outside or does not address the question that you asked, maybe because they did not understand it or for other reasons? What do you do? Because the Deputy President admitted that he did not understand me, but went on to speak and he did not answer the question that I asked. Because I asked, why is the Khoi understand people's language, not an official language? Why is it not part of the 11 languages? Not why it's not promoted.
Honorable Ndlozi, thank you very much for your point of order. The Deputy President has answered the question. As you say, it may not be in the manner in which you intended to ask the question. My submission to you would be that you can follow up with a written question to the Deputy President, maybe to clarify further what you meant about the question, or rather in the question that you were asking. For now, we have concluded the questions to the Deputy President. Deputy President, thank you very much. The next item on our order paper is questions addressed to ministers in the Peace and Security Cluster. Question number 12 has been asked by the Honorable F. Buchman to the Minister of Police. The Minister.
Madam Chairperson, the Ministry has prioritized a number of elements in the National Development Plan for implementation in the 2015-2016 financial year. And this is also reflected in our annual performance plan of 2015-2016, which is soon to be tabled here in Parliament during this month, March. And amongst other things, we are emphasizing on 4 pillars of the National Development Plan. The first one is the strengthening of the criminal justice system, which essentially is about the creation of justice coordination structures at provincial and local government level. The second area, of course, is an emphasis on operationalizing the community outreach programs at JCPS level, as well as the capacity building of community safety and policing forums. The second pillar talks to professionalization of the police service. In this regard, we're looking at establishing relations with research and academic institutions, developing change and transformation management programs, as well as marketing campaigns. The third pillar is on demilitarization of the police service. In this regard, we're looking at the development of self-discipline and leadership programs, as well as levels of training and equipment that has got to capacitate and enable the police to deal with issues of public policing. The third area, of course, is the question of recapacitation of the public order policing, as well as advocacy campaigns on the police code of conduct. The fourth pillar is on building safety using an integrated approach. And in this regard, again, we're emphasizing on the question of community outreach programs with the specific focus on crime hotspots and crime sending areas. Secondly, of course, the question of partnership with sister departments such as social development, home affairs, the business sector, and other community-based organizations. Largely also an effort to increase police presence and visibility, as well as the programs to enhance safety of marginalized and vulnerable groups. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The follow-up questions that I've noted from Honorable Kola.
Is it not the person who, Honorable Buchman, I think, comes first? Sorry.
Thank you very much. I think there's a challenge here. Honorable Buchman.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Thank you, Honourable Minister, for the response. We, from this side of the House, agrees that the question of professionalization of the police should be an important priority. Now, last Friday, the Ministry of Police published the white paper on policing. Now, in Chapter 3, there is a special reference to the question of the professionalization of police. Now, in the same chapter, it also refers to specialized police units, but also the very important question of the important issue of ensuring that the police, in terms of got also the necessary resources. Maybe just to get from the Honourable Minister a response, what will the police do in terms of the short term to ensure that the professionalisation of police gets the necessary priority? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
No, thank you very much, Honourable Chair. We've made a number of various interventions insofar as our efforts towards professionalization of police service. In fact, the publication of the two white papers, the white paper on police as well as the white paper on safety and security, will also serve as a platform that has got to enrich the discussion and debate in our society around this particular effort. The white paper on the police, for instance, has got to assist us in ensuring that we have an accountable, professional and competent police service, but also focusing on the level of skilling our police service. Of course, I've alluded to the issues of the 4 pillars of the National Development Plan, insofar as issues of professionalization, demilitarization, and all other points of emphasis, including the question of enhancing community participation. The white paper on safety and security will also serve as a platform that has got to assist the criminal justice cluster as a whole, for instance, in creation of the coordination structures at both local and provincial level, as well as at a national level of, in assisting both our legislative and administrative work in the execution of this particular function. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Kola.
Thank you, Chair. It's Kola Barnard. Chair, I gave up asking the previous minister about the demilitarization in terms of the Defence Force ranks, but I have personally asked the current National Police Commissioner, because the SAPS is today seen as a paramilitary force which sees our citizens as the enemy. Now, she said she had no intention of doing so. She patently loves being called a general, almost as much as Honourable Becky Cele does, instructing various entities to still call him that, despite having absolutely no right to the title. When will we rid our SAPS of the odious apartheid-era military ranks? Sir, give us the date.
Honourable Minister.
No, thank you very much, Honourable Chair. I certainly do think that the question of demilitarization has got to be an issue that is seen far beyond the question of ranks. The point of emphasis here is the question of the approach that we have got to adopt as a police service, for instance, in relation to executing our work as the police, not necessarily ranks. For an example, the example that I can give is that you can demilitarize or strip away ranks as much as you can, but if you have not worked on the state of mind, I'll still be militaristic in the approach. The second example is that you have, for instance, the Salvation Army, which is the religious formation or denomination of sorts. Reverends are called captains and everything else and so on. But it doesn't. It doesn't.
Order, honourable members. Can we allow the minister to finish his response?
I'm trying to illustrate a point, Mrs. Barnard, that
is Honourable Barnard.
Honourable Mrs. Barnard, I'm trying to illustrate a point.
Honourable Minister.
Yes,
the honourable member prefers to be called Honourable Barnard without a prefix of Miss or Mrs.
Okay, my apologies, Chair.
Thank you.
Honourable Barnard, I'm trying to illustrate a point here that the fact that you hold a particular rank does not necessarily make you militaristic or violent in any form or in any other way and so forth. So the point is that in the debate that this society should have around the question of the demilitarization of the police service, for an example, is the point of emphasis should be the question of the approach towards policing, as opposed to the question of ranks. That's the starting point.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Your time is up. Lunga ehloniphekile umncwango.
Ngiyabonga mama usihlalo. Bengithi angiyibuzele nje la ku ngqongqoshe ngisusela empendulweni yakhe ukuthi njengoba ethi bazoqinisa amachamo okuxhumana phakathi kwamaphoyisa nomphakathi. Ubona ukuthi kuzokwenzeka kanjani lokho njoba ngikhuluma nje ubudlelwano phakathi kwamaphoyisa nomphakathi bububi kangaka. Okwesibili ukhuluma ngokuphucula umsebenzi wamaphoyisa lokho abathi phecelezi professionalization. Ubona ukuthi uzokwenza kanjani lokho nxa umholi wamaphoyisa engesilona iphoyisa ngoba ngibuka ukuthi ukuze kwenzeke kahle lokho kufanele kokuqala ophethe amaphoyisa kube elinye iphoyisa eliqondayo ukuthi ukuba ubuphoyisa nesiphoyisa sisebenza kanjani. Ngiyabonga.
Ngqongqoshe.
Ngibonga kakhulu kumhlonishwa umhlonipheki umnumzane umncwa kulokhu akubuzayo. Empeleni kuyiqiniso ukuthi ubudlelwane phakathi kwethu singamaphoyisa nomphakathi kusenebanga elide kufanele sisebenzele phezukwana. Kodwa la esingeke mhlambe mina nawe sivumelane ngahle khona umkhaya wami ukuthi angeke sithi bubi ngendlela size sifuna ukuqhathanisa nalesi sikhathi sikahulumeni wencindezelo. Empeleni lidibanga eselihanjiwe ukuzama ukukhuculula nokugeza insila yobuso bamaphoyisa ukufika kulesi simo esikuso namhlanje. Kodwa akusho lokuthi konke sekulungile kuphelele. Kusho ukuthi kusafuna kusetshenziswe. Kodwa inhlaka okufuna isetshenziswe yizinhlaka zomphakathi njengo community policing forum neinhlangano zenu umhlonishwa lezi nihlala kuzo emphakathini nalezi zinto zepolitiki kufanele isondele ekusebenziseni nokusebenzisana namaphoyisa ngoba umsebenzi wokwakha isimo emphakathini esihleli kuyona esakhele kuyona kuwumsebenzi wethu sonke. Akona umsebenzi okuthiwa uzokwenziwa umuntu oyiphoyisa ngoba nakhe efake impondo. Kodwa umsebenzi wokuthi la ngihlala khona senza kanjani ukuthi kube khona isimo sezokuphepha. Udaba lokugcina kulento oyishoyo mayelana nokuthi umholi wamaphoyisa ufuna kube umuntu onjani singaphikisana ngashona ilanga. Ungashona ilanga impela. So ngizocela nje ukuthi ngingangeni kakhulukazi kulo ndawana ngoba angeke isize ngalutho. Okubalekile ukuthi amaphoyisa njenge institution kufanele aguidwe ahambe ngendlela ethizeni ukuze abe i-instrument noma abe i-tools lokuthuthukisa intando yeningi nokwakheka kwesimo esiyisona sona kufanele siphile ngaphansi kwaso.
Ngiyabonga
kakhulu lokho.
mhlonishwa. Ngitocela nyalo lilunga lehloniphekile babe Filtani.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. To Honorable Minister, my question is, in the context of your partnership with other government departments, what immediate steps do you intend taking? Immediate is the key word. Taking in order to secure the judges and other personnel in Umtata High Court? Thank you.
Ngqongqoshe.
Assuming that I understood your question, and that's more of a specific matter, Honourable Member, pertaining to the issue of securing judges in Umtata. Okay. Frankly, I will not be able to give you an immediate answer right away here and now, except that, of course, it's the first time I hear that there is a specific matter pertaining to the safety of judges around the jurisdiction of Umtata and so forth. So I think I would love to be exposed to that particular. We need to drink coffee. Okay. I would love to be exposed to that particular a circumstance, for an example, so that we can then study the actual factors and circumstances pertaining to that particular matter there around Umtata. Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson.
Thank you very much. There are now 4 supplementary questions that we have heard on this question. We now move to the second question. But before we do so, can I address honourable members? The Speaker received a letter from the Minister of State Security about certain questions that could be sub judice, and that the questions should stand over. Rule 115, subsection 1, does allow for a question to stand over. The indication is that the matter should also be raised by the ministry with the member who had asked the question. I take it that this issue relates to an earlier issue where Honorable Steenhuisen did make an expression that it could have been easier if a matter could have stood over, instead maybe in the way, in his view, that the question was answered. In respect of that, and having taken into consideration Rule 115, I would suggest that the question stand over. Honourable Steenhuisen.
Madam House Chair, I'd like to address you in terms of Rule 67. The sub judice rule refers, I've already said earlier, refers to matters where there's a judicial decision pending and where issues discussed in this House may tend to prejudice the outcome of the case. In relation to the signal jammer, in Parliament's own court papers, they've conceded the point already. There's a letter from the Secretary of Parliament indicating that it was an error, it will never happen again, and that matter has been dispensed with. What is before the court in the SANEF matter now is an issue about the outside broadcast from this chamber. Therefore, the signal jammer is no longer sub judice. And that was why the Minister was very happy to issue a public statement on the matter. He was quite happy to throw a junior official under the bus for it, but now won't come and account to this House for those public statements. Madam Chair, I must implore you to please not allow the executive to put on the shroud of the sub judice rule in an effort to deflect the tough political questions that they need to answer in this House. The matter is not sub judice. Please answer the question.
Honourable Steenhuisen, thank you very much. I've noted the issue that we are raising. Honourable Ndlozi, can I please finish with Honourable Steenhuisen and then come to you? As indicated when I addressed the House, is that the Speaker has indeed received a letter from the Minister in this regard. And Honourable Steenhuisen, yeah. I then said, because in terms of the rule, the Speaker or the one who's presiding at the time can make a ruling in terms of 115. I explained that the letter has been written, and I indicated that given the earlier discussion and the very point you yourself have raised after the Deputy President responded, having considered that, I said I would recommend that the question stand over. You have indeed raised your point that in your view, with this question, that bet not apply. I will now take Honourable Ndlozi for a point of order. Honourable Maimane, if you can take your seat.
No, Chairman, firstly, it was not clear from the, so I wanted that clarity first. Which questions you are saying fall apart, but as a matter of principle.
Okay, first can we address the first question?
Okay.
We said the question falls away, or not falling away, the question actually stands over. Question from DJ Mainir. That's the one we're referring to. So are you answered, Honorable Dlozi?
Agbare voorsitter.
Okay.
Agbare voorsitter, ek dink die reëling en ek sal vir u sê hoekom ek dink dit is verkeerd. Die vraag van die agbare meneer vra vir die agbare minister of hy verantwoordelikheid sal aanvaar. Nie oor die saak, die meriete van die saak of enigiets nie. Hy vra bloot die vraag of die agbare minister die verantwoordelikheid sal aanvaar oor die aangeleentheid. Ons weet nie wat gaan die uitslag wees nie. En ek dink dit is 'n baie billike vraag komende van hierdie huis ten opsigte van die verantwoordelikhede van die minister. Met ander woorde, die vraag handel nie oor die saak en die hofsaak en die sub judice reël nie, maar die vraag handel oor die verantwoordelikheid van die agbare minister. En die agbare minister moet dit beantwoord. Dankie, voorsitter.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. May I make a proposal? Given the issues that are being raised, we would like to have a consultation, and then I will come back to the House. I've noted you, Honorable Maiman. I'll come back to you. Can you give the presiding officer a chance to consult with the legal services, with the minister in respect of this question, and then come back to you? So I'm not saying we're not going to discuss this matter. Honorable Maimane?
Thank you, House Chair. I think I just want to give input into the consultation you're going to take, because in fact, next week, 7 days from now, the President will be here to answer questions. I want to know if whether we'll use signal devices, are the police also coming, so we can prepare ourselves, regardless of the sub judice rule. We can use the sub judice rule. Next week is coming, so I'd like to get, so the Minister must answer.
Honorable Maimane, thank you very much. If you can take your seat. The question you've just raised does not assist the presiding officer. So, no, I said I'm going to consult in respect of these two questions and come back to the House.
Chair, may I address you? Point of clarity, that's all.
Okay.
You said you're going to consult with regards to the two questions and come back to the House. Will you be coming back to the House before the end of the session
Before
today?
the end of the session?
Today. Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Honorable Chair.
Honorable Dlozi.
Can you name the second question that you are saying for, because you said only one question. But whilst you are doing that, Honorable Chairperson, may I contribute to the consultation? That,
Honorable Dlozi.
Yeah, I'm not Chair. I'm just trying to add, to assist here. Give me a chance to speak.
All right.
Don't be intimidated by the House.
Order, honorable members. Honorable Dlozi, are you rising on a point of order? Honorable Maimane raised the point trying to assist me, and I've said, I've allowed him, and clearly it was not assisting. No. He was raising a new question.
No, I'm not going to raise a new question, Honorable.
May I ask Honorable Dlozi for you to just write a note for me to advise me, okay?
No, Chair, I wanted to go to Hansard this
We
advice.
will now, no.
Honorable Chairperson, I'm not going to play games on a very serious note. I'd like you to consider the principle here that these questions have been submitted on time. The Parliament leadership is aware of that. The leadership of the cabinet members is aware of that. And if a decision is taken that they fall down, there must be recourse. But also, it means we must be able to ask that time that we have. We must not forfeit that time. We must ask a new question.
Honorable
Can that
Dlozi.
be a consideration?
Honorable Dlozi.
And the minister must respond.
Honorable Dlozi, can you take your seat? Firstly, you said you wanted to assist, and clearly the matter you raised did not assist. You were asking a completely new question in respect of the process. Can I just say to honorable members, On your point, you said timeously the questions were written, which is correct. Member of the executive received the question and wrote to the speaker in terms of his right to, referring to the question. And I've just read the response from the executive in respect of that question. Clearly, Honorable Member Steenhuisen argues that this question does not get affected by the sub judice rule. And I said to members, allow me to consult, and then we'll come back before the end of the House. So issues of consequences, I don't think at the moment apply. So in respect of question 31, we will make those consultations with legal service ministry. We now move to question 40, which is the question...
Achtbare voorzitter, aan 'n punt van orde.
Yes, sir.
Honorable Chair, I just want to make sure that you clearly understood what I said, because I doubt whether the legal people are understanding Afrikaans as good as they're supposed to. But is it clear that the point the Freedom Front Plus is arising on is it is not a question about the court case, but a question on the responsibilities of the minister to answer in this House? I just want to make sure. Unfortunately, I cannot repeat it in Xhosa or Zulu, so apology for that one.
I heard you perfectly. Thank you very much. Can we move to the second question as we allow for consultations? Question 46, which has been asked to the Minister of State Security by Mr. S. Mbata.
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Let's just indicate that when you look at question number 46, subsequent questions, we must be able, one, to record that we did receive the questions. Secondly, this matter that is also referred to question 31 and 46 are the same. These matters, members are aware. Even themselves, they are speaking as representatives of SANEF. I'm a fourth respondent in a high court here in the Western Cape on a matter that deals with what happened in the chamber. And honorable members, as you took an oath, you must respect the Constitution and respect the rules.
On a point of order. On a point of order.
Honorable members, Honorable Minister, can you take your seat? Honorable Ndlozi.
Honorable Chairperson, you've just made the ruling that with respect to the questions that are sub judice, you are going to come back to the House. The Honorable Minister consciously stands up, and his point of departure is that this question and the question you've just ruled on are the same. So I think that we must assist one another. Let's be consistent. You're going to come back with a ruling, so the minister must either put it in that basket and not take this time, because I've made a proposal that if he's not going to take this time to respond to this question, we have another question to be given, because we acknowledge we all had enough time to know that we don't want to respond to these questions.
Thank you, Honorable. Thank you, Honorable Ndlozi. Honorable Minister, if you would agree with me, can we just allow on these two questions some consultation with legal services and yourself, and we'll then come back?
Well, Chairperson, I respect your ruling, but let's not create an impression that is not there. We need to be given a right to respond to impressions that are not factually correct.
Okay.
And I will ask that permission on question 46, Chair.
Honorable Minister, thank you very much. I respect your right. Can, on these two questions, allow us as myself and the table to just consult with legal services and we come back to you?
I respect your decision, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can we move to question 5, which has been asked by Mr. V.G. Smith to the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services?
Thank you, Chairperson, and thanks to the Honourable Member for this question. The Plowback campaign has many successful programs, events, and projects which have enhanced local communities' development aspirations and brought about closer relations between offenders, victims, and communities, and thereby facilitating the healing process that the programs are in part aimed to achieve. The following programs have been, for example, introduced as a means to enhance social reintegration of offenders. For example, adopt a school. Offenders are being utilized in different skills in disadvantaged communities by the renovation of dilapidated schools, cleaning schools, etc., and establishing food gardens. Cleaning campaign, the offenders are used to clean community parks, buildings, and graveyards without any compensation. School repairs and cleaning programs are undertaken by parolees, probationers, and ex-offenders in most of the regions in the country. In the Western Cape region, for example, parolees and ex-offenders have cleaned and repaired schools in Cape Town, that is West Bank area, and in Southern Cape, that is George and Mossel Bay areas, and many other areas. The building of houses. In this, offenders were utilized to build houses for the victims of crime, which has led to restoration, reparation, and acceptance of offenders by victims in many of these instances. Employability of offenders. Prospective employers were lobbied to employ parolees and probationers despite their criminal records and stigmatization that follows as a result of past offender behavior, as well as the stigma that's associated with it. School tours, the offenders are used to motivate pupils to abstain from committing crimes or by becoming ambassadors against crime. These tours expose pupils to the environment of correctional
Honorable
centers,
Minister,
which serve
your
as
time.
deterrent to crime.
Yes,
I thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Smith.
Thanks, Chairperson. Minister, thank you for your response. And we agree, Minister, that it goes a long way in assisting with the reintegration. You, Minister, alluded to the destigmatization and discrimination with regard to criminal records. Our own experience, Minister, is that that is probably the biggest hindrance to productive reintegration of ex-offenders and the returning of their human dignity. I hear you saying that you've asked certain industries to employ regardless of that. But the question that I'm asking, Minister, is hasn't the time arrived where we reduce the bureaucracy that is required to expunge criminal records? I'm asking that question because in the main, those that are affected by this stigmatization
Honorable Smith, your time is up.
is black, poor, and they need the assistance the most. Thank you, Minister.
Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. I agree with the honourable member that indeed having a criminal record does have the effect that he has alluded to. As the honourable member is aware, in general, expungement of criminal records is available to persons that have not been sentenced to prison without the option of a fine, and only after a period of 10 years has lapsed since the date of the conviction. I've been informed by the department that the expungement process can unfortunately take a long time due to the volume of applications for expungement because of the verification process of criminal records, in terms of which a person must first apply for a clearance certificate from the Criminal Record Center at any police station before the application can be submitted to the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. However, I need to indicate that on a daily basis, I receive requests also in relation to the applications for the presidential pardons, which is another avenue that is used to actually expunge criminal records. We do concede that indeed there is a negative effect that a criminal record does have on somebody to be able to move on with their lives. And as a result, especially with minor crimes that are not involving violence or the violation of women, we tend to be very amenable to recommending for the expungement of such criminal records, so
Honourable
that
Minister, your time is
previous offenders are able to develop further with their lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Honourable Dudley.
Thank you, Chair. Honourable Minister, are we right in our understanding that the budget for rehabilitation was underspent last year, and will this campaign help to address that underspending in any way? Is the campaign fully operational, and what challenges are hindering implementation? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
We have, since we commenced with the current administration, identified a number of weaknesses in the programs of the department, and we have been in a intense engagement with the management of the department to identify those weaknesses, especially in the area of rehabilitation, skills development, and community reintegration. I believe that those are the priority areas where the impact of our intervention and our new policy thrust can find expression. And the policy thrust being that the focus is no longer to run prisons, but to run correctional facilities and correctional services, which is to correct past criminal behavior and offenders to be able to be reintegrated and engage in constructive conduct and activity after they have served their term in our correctional facilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Mashavela.
Madam Chair, we of the economic freedom fighters would want to put to the Honourable Minister a simple question. That when are they going to stop to justify and rationalize the irrational? That the Justice and Correctional Service Department, in its sober mind, decided to release Eugene de Kock, a cold-hearted murderer, who has acted in defense of a system which was declared worldwide crime against humanity. And the department and the government of the ANC decided to release such a man. Whereas thousands of APLA cadres are still languishing in prisons and have been denied. I don't know about MK.
Honourable Member, your time is up.
Have been denied bail on a continuous basis.
Honourable
Don't
Minister.
they believe in their own people and their own
Honourable
justice
Member,
system?
your time is up.
And the rehabilitation.
Honorable Minister.
I am not sure about the denial of bail, whether that's in relation to matters that are on trial in that regard, or whether the member actually wants to refer to parole, because the matter of Mr. Eugene Dikook was essentially about an application for parole. But be it as it may, if indeed the honourable member is asking about parole, we would like to indicate, firstly, that indeed, following a dispensation that political parties represented, most of which are represented in this House, in 2007, and a dispensation was agreed upon to consider presidential pardons in respect of certain persons who committed political offenses, and certain recommendations were made to the then president, but however were intercepted by court judgments following court challenges that were mounted in that regard. We have in the interim decided to fast track the parole applications in respect of those who are identified who are still in our correctional facilities, in order to ensure that their parole applications are processed speedily and they're brought to finality, whilst the issue of presidential pardon applications in respect of those offenders continues to be dealt with in the Office of the President in consultation with ourselves at the Justice Ministry. So certainly, very soon we should be in a position to make some announcements with regard to the release on parole of some of those offenders who are affected in that regard. Thank you very much.
Order, honorable members. Lunga elihloniphekile ubaba uMsimang.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We do appreciate the strategies by government to help reintegrate ex-offenders. Our observation, however, is that on the ground, there are certain communities which are still reluctant to rehabilitate ex-offenders. Question is, can these ex-offenders have recourse to the government? In other words, will they receive any measure of support from the department if they cannot access work or are sidelined from funding due to their criminal record? If not, why not? And if so, what are the relevant details? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you for the follow-up question, Honorable Member. I wasn't sure the context in which the Honorable Member states the role of communities to rehabilitate, because I thought that is the responsibility of correctional services. But be it as it may, on the second part of his follow-up question that relates to the resistance to absorb the ex-offenders in the employment environment and offering them employment opportunities, we continue, of course, from our side to advocate for the employment of these offenders. We acknowledge that, in fact, in some instances, there are specific laws that restrict the employability of ex-offenders, especially those that would not have had their criminal records expunged yet. I can say, for example, by way of illustration, that having served on the Magistrates Commission, where we consider applications for appointment as magistrates. We look objectively at the nature of the offense and whether it impacts on the suitability. In other words, whether that applicant is a fit and proper person to appointment. And there has been instances where people who have had minor offenses in the past and have volunteered information in that regard by disclosing such offenses, that we've been willing to actually recommend their appointment, and in fact they've been appointed. So the mere fact that a person has committed an offense in their life is not of itself a permanent ban on that person to obtain employment in life, and would want to encourage employers not to purely on the basis that a person has committed an offense, deny them the opportunity to participate in gainful employment. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We now move to question 24, asked by Honorable Mwango to the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation. Honorable the Deputy Minister.
Out of order. Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. The response to the question by Honorable Mwango is that no, South Africa in her practice of international relations advocate for the settlement of conflict through peaceful means, including entering into genuine negotiations. South Africa has recognized the state of Palestine since 1995, and South Africa supports the Palestinian cause to establish a viable and territorial Palestine state existing side by side in peace with the state of Israel at the bilateral level, and has continuously used her influence to leverage in the multilateral fora to advocate for the recognition of Palestine's right of self-determination. Over the past 20 years, South Africa has undertaken a number of efforts aimed at supporting Palestine towards the achievement of a two-state solution. These include the following: at a multilateral level, particularly the United Nations G77 non-aligned movement and the African Union, BRICS and IPSA, South Africa supports and lobbies for the independence and self-determination of Palestine. In this respect, calls for serious and genuine negotiations that would result in a just resolution of Palestinian-Israel conflicts. As you would know, President also appointed the former Minister Zola Skweyiya and former Deputy Minister Ziz Pahat as his special envoy to convey his message of concern with escalating violence to the people of Palestine. South Africa also have contributed by pledging $1 million towards humanitarian assistance to the people of Gaza following the 50-day war between Israel and Palestine in 2014. Through the IPSA partnership program, South Africa has partly funded the construction of social development infrastructure projects in Palestine. In this regard, 3 such projects were initiated, namely the Ramallah Indoor Sports Complex, officially inaugurated in October 2011, the Al-Quds Red Crescent Hospital in Gaza, launched in 2012, and People Without Disabilities Project in Nablus City. On the 22nd August 2012, the South African Cabinet approved Government Notice 379
Honorable Minister.
pertaining to the correct labeling of Israel goods in the Palestine-occupied territories. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Ilungu elihloniphekile uMncwango.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairperson. Well, all those diplomatic niceties that the Deputy Minister is talking about are indeed commendable. But the real issue here is, how is South Africa to remain credible in assisting in the negotiation process when members of the ruling party in this House take a firm stance for Palestine over Israel, in contradiction to government's proclaimed stance of supporting the two-state solution? It's amazing that Parliament also has joined in the bandwagon, in that during the official opening of this Parliament, Parliament actually had extended invitation to none other than a maverick, political maverick, in the name of Khalid.
Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, the policy of this government is two-state solution. That doesn't mean people cannot articulate what is right. All of us gathered here, we know not only the 50-day war in Gaza in 2014 targeted, in particular, women and children. For a long time, we know the suffering that people of Palestine has been going through. So the fact that we acknowledge that they must also be free doesn't mean we are moving from saying the solution would be these two countries living side by side peacefully.
Honorable Ndlozi.
Honorable Chairperson.
Honorable Ndlozi, can you take a seat? Honorable Mponchane, is it a point of order?
Yes, Chairperson. Chairperson, I didn't want to disturb the Speaker when he was asking, when he was doing a follow-up question. I think Chairperson is below the dignity of a Minister of State to keep on waving and angrily waving to the Speaker when she was talking. The Minister for Small Business, I think it's below the dignity of the Minister of State to do that.
Honorable...
I think, Chairperson, we have been talking about keeping and maintaining the decorum of the House. But if this comes from this Minister of State, really, I wonder what we are talking
Honorable
about.
Mponchane, thank you very much. That wasn't a point of order. Order, honorable members. You are raising a question which I'm sure the members of the Rules Committee seated here will be able to take up in discussion. For now, can we allow Honorable Ndlozi to make a follow-up question?
Honorable Mponchana just reminded me that I
Honorable
need ginger before I
Ndlozi,
speak.
to your question.
Honorable Chairperson, the ANC, Honorable Minister, in its international Solidarity Conference in 2012, adopted boycotts, divestments, and sanctions as a strategy to deal with the international isolation of Israel. It did this, and it said, because Israel is an apartheid colonial occupationist state, which denies the people of Palestine the right to self-determination. Negotiations have failed. Israel was bombing Gaza during negotiations last year. So you can't insist on saying negotiations, when you yourselves in your conference have agreed that the only route is boycotts, divestments, and sanctions. And therefore we ask, when are you implementing as government boycotts, divestments, and sanctions as an international strategy, international solidarity strategy towards Israel, particularly
Honorable
returning
Dozie,
the diamonds
your
of South
time is
Africa from being cut in Israel.
Honorable
And viva
Dozie.
Leila Khalid, viva.
Honorable Dlozi, I am not sure whether the question we're asking was it to the ANC or was to the Minister of State, but I would allow the Minister to respond. Order.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm sure Honorable Dozie was asking the question to the ANC, and I'm sure ANC would adequately answer that question. I am standing here responding as the DECO, and which is responsible for the policies of this government in relation to these
On a
issues.
point of order, Chair. Honorable Chairperson, on a
Honorable
point of
Dlozi.
order. On a
Honorable
point of order.
Dlozi. Honorable Dlozi. Can you take a seat?
I'm raising on a point of order, Honorable
Can you
Chairperson.
take a seat? I will recognize you. Minister, Deputy Minister, have you finished answering your question? Thank you. Okay, Honorable Dlozi, what's your-
Honorable Chairperson, I think you must assist us because you are responsible in your preamble to allowing the minister to answer, to misconstrue my question. My question said, when is the government implementing that particular strategy articulated in the ANC? So I am asking, why are your policies not going through the route of boycotts, divestment, and sanctions? And you influenced her to run away from the question by saying, am I asking the ANC or am I asking government? And by the way, when it's convenient, those two things are the same.
Honorable Dlozi, you have gone further than your point of order to also make an opinion. And I think the minister has answered you. I will now recognize Babu Kubisa.
Honorable House Person.
Yes, Honorable Floyd. Are you rising on a point of order?
Yes.
Okay. What is?
There is a question that is made in follow-up to say, when is government implementing the boycotts, divestments, and sanctions? That is asked to the Deputy Minister of International Relations. Can we please get a response to that question? Without having to speak about other organizations, can we please get a response to that question as a follow-up question and not this
Thank you very much. Take a
zigzagging
seat.
which is being done here, please.
Honorable members, order. Thank you very much, Honorable Shibambo. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, I think it's important for all of us to appreciate that we ask questions to members of the executive, they give an answer. It might be, in your opinion, that the answer that you were given is not adequate or is no answer as you say, but the Deputy Minister in this instance has answered. If you would like to make another follow-up question, either in a written form, that I think is possible for members to do so, or maybe ask the question further in another question session. For now,
Honorable Chairperson, please assist the House.
You
are the one, Honorable Chairperson, who must assist us here to have order. You said, when my question was very clear that it's about when is government implementing boycotts, divestments, and sanctions, you influenced the minister to think, I'm asking the ANC. And you must correct it. It's not wrong to admit that there is a mistake on this one. Even the deputy minister just said, no, the ANC will answer, and I'm sitting down. But we are not asking the ANC. We are asking, when is the strategy becoming boycotts, divestment, sanctions towards Israel? And the minister must answer.
Okay, can you take your seat?
Please assist us, Honorable Chairperson.
And if you can assist me so that I assist you, you will take your seat. Thank you very much. Honorable Deputy Minister, I saw you indicating that you would want to indulge Honorable Dlozi once again. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Madam Chair. I'm sure what created confusion is what the honorable member said earlier about where the policy was taken. the answer really to the last question, when is the government going to implement the policy of boycott? There is no such policy of boycott in the government. Therefore, it's not going to be implemented. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Mhlonipeki uKhubisa. Order, honorable members. Honorable Member Ndabeni, can we please allow Honorable Khubisa to ask his supplementary
Thank you,
question?
Chairperson. I just wanted to ask whether the two envoys that were sent by the President to Palestine have concluded their work, and if they have they submitted the report, and when are we going to be presented with the report, if there is any? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Khubisa. The question you raise is a new question from the one asked by Mngwang.
Point of order, Madam Chairperson. I think this question is related to this. We are deliberating on matters related to Palestine. And the question is speaking about the President emissaries who went to Palestine. I mean,
Honorable Khubisa, in terms of the question, it is indeed the new question you raise it. However, as you say that the minister in her response referred to that matter, I will allow the minister, if she has an answer, to answer you.
Thank you
Deputy
very
Minister.
much, Chairperson. The response is really the envoy appointed by the President have contributed so much to what we saw as a relief after the 50 days. They went around the whole region, all the countries that must play a role in resolving the question of Palestine, and attended many meetings. I think the question is, have they completed their task? They have not completed. Yes, there's a relief, but they continue to deliberate. As we all know, the whole of Middle East is burning. They continuously deliberating with different countries and different stakeholders to a permanent solution, which is not there at the moment. So it's in progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Honorable Mokhalapa.
Thank you very much, Vice Chairperson. Deputy Minister, the end is the question of mixed communication around the official South African position. Can you just clearly and consistently just clarify what is South Africa's position with regards to the role that government intends to play in order to ensure that the Israel and the Palestine conflict solution is achieved, clearly and consistently?
Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, thank you very much, Chair. I think there's no confusion here. There's one policy of this country, solving problems through negotiations and peaceful resolution of the problems. Now, this is our policy with Palestine and Israel as well. We talk to both of them, try very hard. As I said earlier, whilst we're doing that, we can't ignore that there's a side, because of its strength, that doesn't really want at times to be part of the negotiation. But the policy remains the same. We're sharing our own experience that we're sitting here today because we solve our problem that was not that different from the Palestinian problem
through negotiations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Order, honorable members. Earlier on question 31 and question 46, I said earlier I will come back to honorable members. We've had consultations, I'm sure you've been seeing up and down the secretary here, with our legal services, but also consulted the minister with regard to the questions that have been asked and how members in my earlier pronouncement have reacted. In terms of legal services, they have said, indeed, the matters are before court. And also the minister indicated the same. However, the minister had said he would be willing to answer. And as members appreciate, some of the matters he may not deal with because those are matters at court. So I would allow the minister to respond to question 31 and then to question 46. Honorable Minister Mahlobo.
Well, thank you very much, Chairperson.
Quick order, Chair. On a point of order. I'm not fighting.
Honorable Minister, can you take your seat? Honorable Ndlozi.
No, Chair, I thought because you are saying he must deal with them combined, can you please outline the procedure of follow-ups? Because we are dealing with the technology that we are already not confident with here with regards to the follow-ups. Are you going to take 8 follow-ups at the same? What's going to happen?
Honorable Ndlozi, if you can take your seat. There is no change in the way in which questions are answered. All what I was saying is that the minister will answer to both questions. He will start with question 31. There will be follow-up questions as is usual. Come to question 46. Supplementary questions follow as they are supposed to. So there is no change. The reason I said he will deal with both questions was because it was those 2 questions that were suspended while we were consulting. Honorable Minister, can we deal with question 31?
Well, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. The issues that are in front of the court will respect our oath and our rules, will not deal with them. Because, honorable members, they will know, those who have asked, that in terms of the public opinion, in terms of the public domain, those issues were there. But quickly to disperse with question 31. Question 31, we've issued a statement. There was no executive authority or a political decision. That's the answer. And we have indicated that in terms of operational efficiency, an error occurred. We regretted the error.
Order, honorable members. Honorable members from the DA, can we please listen our voice? Your member has asked a question and the minister is responding. Can we please lessen our voice to allow the minister to conclude? Honorable Minister.
And on that basis, we indicated our apology that there was no intentional disruption of signal. We took a decision as the responsible authority to do an investigation in terms of that, but I can't get to the details because those details, Chair, are in front of the court, but the member should be able to know that there was no executive decision as per our, and that's where there is no, the other part of the question, then they became irrelevant. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mainir.
Chairperson, the Minister is absolutely the last person that should stand up in this House and give us a lecture on the Constitution. Because the root cause of the problem is that the State Security Agency is becoming like a Stasi.
which cannot tell the difference between a national security threat and a political threat to President Jacob Zuma. The minister has set a new record, generating 2 scandals in the last 2 weeks, first Signal Gate and now Spy Cable Gate. And I'd like to ask the minister whether he does not agree that it is in his interests, in our interests, and in the country's interests, that he take political responsibility and resign, rather than relying on a rogue official's defense and making some poor official walk the plank. Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. It sounds to me the vision that you want to give and your understanding of our mandate. I thought that, Chairperson, our mandate is clearly stipulated in terms of Section 191 of the Constitution. The same House, Chair, passed various legislation. One of them is the National Strategic Intelligence Act, the General Intelligence Amendments Laws. I will request that the honorable member must not be in a position to forget to read the documents. We have a duty. Our duty, we are going to protect the citizens of this country, the sovereignty of our own state. We are going to protect the infrastructure, including all South Africans, whether they belong to the ANC or not, including Mainir. He enjoys the freedoms and the liberties because of the work that our men and women, they do on a daily basis to keep South Africa safe. I thank you.
Honourable Essayism.
Thank you, Madam House Chair.
Honourable members, can we please allow the other honourable member to ask a question?
Thank you, Madam
Honourable
House Chair.
Essayism.
Honourable Minister, February 12 marked the day this country became an overly ANC-led securitocracy. We were never poorer than in any other time in the past 20 years in terms of our much-wanted constitution. Honourable Minister, you took an oath to uphold and defend the constitution and the right enshrined therewith, excuse me, which includes the right to freedom of speech. How do you correlate your department's actions on 12 February with your role as guardian of our constitution, even if it was unintentional? And you do see South Africa, do you see South Africa as now being a state-controlled securitocracy? Thank you.
Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. We must be able that our security cluster and more the state security agents, it has been transformed. We operate within the ambit of the Constitution. Remember, we inherited national intelligence services and secret services that had no regard for human rights, that maimed and killed civilians and people that had a different view. Over the last 21 years, we've been able to bring these men and women together with clear accountability measures. If South Africans, when South Africans, if they look at the record over the last 20 years, we've been able to ensure that this transition is well, because those men and women are working. Incidents where this country was on the verge of a brink, like those incidents before the elections, the right-wing elements, the people that wanted to kill the leadership of the ANC. We also can even speak about even the issues of the World Cup and other people that can come and try to harm us. We've done well. But for accountability measures, we have the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence. We also have the Office of the Inspector General for Intelligence. There is one message: we'll respect the law, but all South Africans, irrespective of their views and their ranks and standing in society, don't be on the wrong side of the law. The intelligence agencies, they are going to pick those South Africans who don't want to respect the laws of the country because they are going to threaten this country. We cannot be apologetic about that one. I thank you.
Honorable Ndlozi. I've got Honorable Ndlozi here. Who's representing you? Okay.
Now, thank you very much, House Chair. Honorable Minister, in one of the responses during the media briefing around the jamming of the signal, one of the response was that it was meant to protect the airspace. Exactly. And in terms of the response that we are giving now, can you admit that you are trying to manage by providing that particular answer? Because today you are saying you are still going to go back and investigate on what has actually transpired during that day. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks to the Honorable Member. We are going to try to indicate that if the member could find time and space and familiarize himself with the statement in totality. The statement is easily available, and you will be able then to look at the details there. Because one of the things that we've admitted to all South Africans is the issue of an operational error, and the ministers, they don't get involved on those. But what we could indicate, Chairperson, is that the member, if he wants to understand the technology that is being used as a countermeasure to do the tradecraft, we are clearly allowing people to join our cadet program. He can be trained to become part of those men and women who can safeguard our country as an intelligence officer. I thank you.
Honorable Groenewald.
Agbare Voorzitter, let I start by saying I quite agree with the Honourable Minister when he said the services did well. They did very well. They did so well that you can read all the secret documents from Al Jazeera. Chair, I want to ask for the Honourable Minister. His answer he said that the executive didn't take any decision. So if I understand it correctly, the Honourable Minister, you represent the executive. So you as minister didn't take such a decision. In that case, I want to know, how is it possible that the member from the executive cannot be involved in a decision where the legislative body is involved? Because if you said that, as you said, that you were not involved, then you didn't follow your responsibility. If you said yes, you yourself were involved in that decision, then also I want to know how you see your responsibility.
Your time is up. Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you very much. It's understandable that some people are not actually understanding the role of the executive if you have never been in the executive and in operations.
Honorable members, can we please allow the minister to give the answer?
There is a segregation of duties. In terms of our own legislation that are being passed by the House, there is a role of an executive authority, clearly spelled out. Then there is a role of the administration led by the accounting office. But more importantly, if you work in the intelligence community, you will know that the National Strategic Intelligence Act, including GILA, they say as a minister, I must be able to have regulations, have operational directives. I don't implement operational directives. And if people don't know our responsibility, we will find time, actually through the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, and do public awareness so that members can be able that we respect segregation of duties. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We now move to the question 46 asked by Mr. M.S. Mbata to the Minister of State Security. Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. I will not go to the details that are in the court, safe to say that the honorable member, if you can look at the legislation passed by the House, you can look at section 199, subsection 1 of our Constitution, where there's a clear definition of our role as the security services of the country. Security services clearly defined as the defense, the police, and the intelligence services. And equally, earlier on, our honorable member, Mr. Lekota, also made reference to Powers, Privileges, and Immunities Act. We did apply the law. And the reference to General Intelligence Laws Amendment Act will be in a position to indicate that it does provide issues of a broader definition of national security. Equally, the copy of the Act is available to clarify those broader mandates. There are a number of legislation that governs our task in executing our role to secure the state, our people, and our interests as a country. I thank you.
Honorable Mbata.
Thanks, House Chair. My follow-up to the Minister is as follows. If the assertion of the Minister of following the law is rehearsing how you are going to beat up members of Parliament 3 days before the sitting, then I have a serious worry about you. But also, if the further assertion is the following, that the General Intelligence Amendment Act may not have applied itself to the national parliament, and you know that very well. It may not even have applied to even preparing anything of that sort here in the House. And that is not part and parcel of the court case that you keep running away from. But taking it out of the parliament as it is now, the way you handled the situation here.
Honorable member, your time is up. Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Chairperson. I want to put it on record that 3 days before the sitting, the Minister of State Security or any official in my department has not beaten any person. And if the member has been beaten by any office from my department or by myself, there are law enforcement agencies and there is a judiciary. The member has a right to recourse, but the member cannot give a statement that is factually incorrect to the country. I will request an apology because our people, and including myself, I've never beaten anybody here. I thank you.
Honorable Member Mbata, can you stand up? In your follow-up question, did you say the minister or his officials in the department beat up people 3 days before the State of the Nation address?
I said in his understanding of the law, if it meant
did you say that in the understanding of the law, 3 days before SONA, his official or himself beat up people?
Honorable House Chair, maybe let's start from the beginning.
No, I'm just asking a question for clarity because the minister asked that you withdraw.
He's not going to get an apology. He's not. Let's start from the
Honorable
beginning.
members, I would look at Hansard in terms of the statement that you said, and then I will rule, but not today. I will come back to the matter tomorrow.
Thank you.
Can we ask?
Honorable Chair.
Honorable Ndlozi.
Can you clarify us?
Honorable Ndlozi, what order are you rising on?
Yeah. The point of
your hand.
The point of order.
Yes, what is the point of order?
What is inappropriate It's not an insult to say you beat me up. Why are we being asked to withdraw comments that the state security beat us up?
Honorable Ndlozi. Honorable Ndlozi.
Mahlobo beat us up. What is wrong with that?
Honorable Ndlozi, can you
Point
take
of
your
order.
seat? Can you take your seat, Honorable Ndlozi? I have said I will rule on this matter tomorrow. I would look exactly at the statement of Honorable Mbata and then come back to the House. Honorable Shibambo.
How's Chairperson?
Honorable members.
How's Chairperson?
Honorable members. Honorable Shibam, can you take your seat?
But can I
Can you take your seat? I've recognized you. Can you take your seat?
Okay, please.
Honorable members. Honorable Mbata, in his follow-up question, made a particular reference to which the minister in answering asked that he withdraws. I asked Honorable Mbata whether he said that phrase. He explained himself and he said he will not withdraw. So I then said, because indeed he did not give me a clear answer to that question, I will look at Hansard on his statement and then come back to the House and rule. So I am not sure what we would want to debate further on this matter. So can we please proceed and ask, okay. Can I take Honorable Shibambo and then I'll come to you, Honorable Member. Honorable Shibambo, what's your point of order?
No, the point of order was that your intention was to say that if indeed Honorable Mbata said that you are going to ask him to withdraw, he's not going to withdraw because the security forces were called
Honorable
in here
Ndlozi.
by the speaker to come and
Honorable
assault members.
Shibambo.
That is a reality.
Honorable
You must live with that,
Shibambo.
so come back with the answer. There won't be any
Honorable
withdrawal or any
Shibambo, can you
apology
take
from
your
anyone.
seat?
So it's a fact. Which
Can you
must
take your seat?
remind you of.
Honorable Member.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Yes.
Honorable Chair, in his address, Honorable Ndlozi indicated that Mahlobo beat us up. I think really you should instruct Honorable Ndlozi to withdraw that unfortunate remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable members, can I first address Honorable Ndlozi, Honorable Shibambo? Honorable Shibambo, I don't think we talk about intentions here, and there was a specific reason why I said I will come back after reading Hansard. Because the member in his statement, in his follow-up question, was very specific on the timelines. He specifically said 3 days before. So that is why I'm saying, in order for all of us not to have a confusion about the matter, I will look at Hansard, come back and make a ruling. That will assist that we don't actually give our own impressions or our own recollection of issues. Honorable Ndlozi, a matter that has now been raised. In your point of order, you said Honorable Mahlobo beats us up. Can I ask you to stand? Did you say the statement?
Yes, Honorable Chairperson. I made a mistake. I said Mahlobo. I withdraw that, Honorable Mahlobo. But our members' matter of having been beaten up makes a case that it was on the instructions of the security cluster.
No, Honorable
and it's
Member.
part of
Honorable Member.
Mahlobo. Honorable Chairperson, I
Honorable
admit,
Member.
I said that.
Can you please withdraw?
No, I can't. I can't withdraw. I don't see, Honorable Chairperson, what is wrong with saying the Honorable Mahlobo beat us up.
Honorable Member, factually, your statement is incorrect.
It must be made in substance. It's a motion. It must be made in substance. It's a matter of fact. It's not a matter of an insult.
Ndlozi.
It's not an insult.
Honorable Ndlozi, can you please withdraw?
Honorable Chairperson, you are asking me in my revolutionary conscience to betray it. I cannot betray my revolutionary conscience. this government called police here to beat us up. Honorable Mahlobo, Honorable President, Honorable all of them, the cabinet, they called people, they beat us up. They are responsible. They must take responsibility. They beat us up, including the speaker, including all the leadership of parliament. You beat us up. You physically removed us here. You beat us up. You must take that responsibility.
Honorable Ndlozi, can you take a seat? Honorable Ndlozi, in respect of this issue, I've asked you to withdraw. You have refused to withdraw. I name you. Honorable Ndlozi, I name you. And I'm sure you understand what the consequence of that is. Thank you very much. Can we now ask Honorable Mponchane to ask a follow-up question? Honorable Mwang.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madam Chairperson. My follow-up question actually was...
Honorable members, can we allow Honorable Mwango to ask his question? Honorable Mwango.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I actually wanted to know from the minister whether, in fact, the minister was not aware of the jamming device that actually jammed the signals in this house. And I'm asking this because he said those were operational issues for which he knows nothing about. And secondly, whether the minister can disclose to this house the alleged, the content of the alleged note that actually made exchanges between him and the deputy president.
Honorable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Chair. And thanks to Honorable Mwang. We should be able to reiterate that executive, including myself as a responsible executing authority. No, there was no decision that we took in terms of the interruption of signal. That's my answer. And we are very clear, Mpangazita, that you always will do separation of the role, because us as legislators, we should be the first people that must be able to say this separation, when we do it well, we must be actually honest. But when it comes to the issues of the notes, ama notes ke mhlonishwa Mpangazitha ayandiza la ndlini. Uma endiza akusinto yokuqala and ngeke kube into yokugcina. Njengoba nje nguminister ke oqondene nokuphepha kwesizwe, kufuneka sikuhloniphe inkulumo phakathi kwabantu abaphethe izwe. Sifuna ukwakha izwe linjani uma kunenkulumo phakathi kwabantu abathathe isifungo. Into ebalekile ukuthi kunabantu la abafani akhuluma umuntu azaqeke aqekethe indaba ageqa amagula athi ngathola inote ngaphuma kwabuya inetwork. Uyakwazi ke lokho ukuthi kungamampungwe abuhlaza cwe. Singakuvumeli into enje iqhubeke ngoba lokho kubulala isizwe. Lesizwe ngeke sasakha phezulu kwamanga. Yilekho ke ngibonga kakhulu mhlonishwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Maynard.
Chairperson, the minister gave us a lecture on the Constitution, and then he gave us a lecture on the law. But it's very clear that the minister does not understand the law. And I say that because the minister said that the threat was a threat of disruption. And given the fact that the threat of disruption is not terrorism, it's not espionage, it's not the exposure of state secrets, it's not serious violence, and given the threat of disruption is not a national security matter, will the minister tell us what authority in law the state security agency had in order to exercise domestic intelligence and counterintelligence functions ahead of the State of the Nation address. And if the Minister can't point to the exact section in the law, I would suggest that he reconsider his position and resign.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. And thank you very much from Mr. Mainir. We are running a risk. Our risk that we are running is not to speak factually correct. The Constitution, read it well. The role of the security services for this country. Go to Section 191. Go to the Powers and Privileges Act.
Point of order.
You go to Section.
Point of order.
Order. Minister, can you take your seat? What's the point of order, Honorable
House
Member?
Chair, it's now the second time that the Minister has referred members of this House to Section 191. I don't know if it's a Freudian slip from yesterday, but Section 191 deals with the Electoral Commission.
Honorable Minister.
No, thank you very much, Chair.
Order. Order, honorable members. Honorable members from the Democratic Alliance, I won't be able to know exactly who and who. Can you please lessen your voice? Allow the minister to respond.
Okunye okubaleke kakhulu sihlalo ukuthi abantu abangamalunga ahloniphekile kuyawufuneka bayiphathe ngendlela ehloniphekile. Ilunga eliqavile elikhulumayo lihamba limemezela lithi liusekela mphathiso wezinhloli. Kunokungakwazi ke umthetho weinhloli ukuthi usebenza kanjani. Ngoba phela umthetho weinhloli ukuvikela izwe. Uma uchecka i-threat ekhona eNingizimu Afrika, leyo threat leyo uma uyazi tradecraft okwayi-practice, you will never be in a position to disclose that threat. It has never happened. If you understand our tradecraft, our issues, we hold them in confidence. The issues that you hold there, you hold your oath. What is more alarming is that the member that is so active on intelligence and security matters, he was given a chance ukuthi asondele abe ilunga eliqavile le-Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, wabalekela i-vetting ukuze akwazi ukuthola indaba eziyimfihlo kahulumeni engiyiphethe. Uhamba nje memeza esidlangalaleni. Uma ememeza esidlangalaleni, ngeke ngamphendula ngendaba zokuphepha kwelizwe. Ngoba what does it mean? It means that if I'm going to actually say let's do a roadblock, we must announce.
Honorable Minister, your time is up.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Honorable Mpele.
Chairperson, I pressed by mistake. My apologies.
Are there any supplementary questions? Well, on the list here, there's Honorable Mashabela.
House Chair, I want to put a question to the Minister of Secret Services. Whether
State Security.
Whether he realizes that his action on the 12th of February confirms two things. That his government is a reincarnation of apartheid in totality. One. Two, that he's not different from Ernest Krell, Magnus Manan, and all apartheid military spies and operatives.
Honorable Minister.
Well, we should be able to put the facts. The facts, the intelligence services for this country. We are proud of the work they've done. And we are proud of the work that they continue to do. But admittedly, we have agreed that, like the nature of the threats in the world that are becoming so complex, there are areas of improvement that we must attend to. Some of the areas of improvement, there are issues around the ability to use the recent technology so that we can deal with serious threats, like your cyberspace and cyber terrorism. We must also be able to deal with issues of economic intelligence, because a number of issues that speaks around issues of illicit economy. We must be able to deal with issues of terrorism. But it is not factually correct to try to compare the intelligence services of today and yesteryear. That could not be correct. We can assure South Africans that we'll continue to discharge our responsibility to keep this country safe. We have done our utmost best, and we'll continue to be able to ensure that all people, irrespective of their views, they enjoy their right to safety, their right to privacy, and other rights that are enshrined in our Constitution. And want to say thank you very much for those who are doing well in terms of improving some of those situations in our country. The insinuation that we are the same, they are accountability systems. If a member feels that our actions are outside the law, there is a recourse. You did pass an Intelligence Oversight Act here that creates a body to make referral of our own misconduct if there are issues of misconduct. Equally, the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, that parties are all having people sitting there. They have a responsibility to call us. We will always gladly come and answer the question because we are the public representatives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The time allocated for questions has expired. Outstanding replies received will be printed in Hansard. Honorable members, we now come to the notices of motion. Does any member wish to give a notice of motion? ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. I move on behalf of the ANC that in the next sitting, the House debate striving and promoting linguistic cultural diversity in our school and in our day-to-day interaction. I so move.
Does any member wish to give a notice of motion? Honorable member.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debates ways of ensuring that South African motorists and pedestrians obey the applicable traffic laws and rules of the road. I so move.
Thank you. Honorable Hlengwa.
Thank you, House Chairperson. On behalf of the Inkatha Freedom Party, I assure the Senate of the House that the House debates the need to strengthen Section 139 of the Constitution to ensure that it is not abused and not inconsistently applied, and to safeguard it from party political interests.
Honorable Kubisa.
Thank you, Chairperson. I move on behalf of the NFP that on the next sitting, the House debates some bottlenecks and impediments that impact on land reform in South Africa.
Honorable member.
Thank you, Chair. I move on behalf of ANC that on its next sitting, the House debates promoting the establishment of cooperatives and cluster in each of the poorest district municipalities, transform the rural economics. I so move.
Honorable member.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I hereby move on the behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debate the role of independent power producers and their potential in resolving South Africa's ongoing and deepening energy crisis. I hereby move.
Honorable member.
Thanks, Chairperson. I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debate accelerating the teaching of new national identity through promoting national symbols such as national flag, the national anthem, and the preamble of the Constitution of South Africa in every school. So I move.
Honorable Sitim Simam.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On behalf of the Nkata Freedom Party, I shall move at the next sitting of this House that the House debate the need to increase the capacity of firefighters and other emergency services personnel so that they are able to deal with emergencies effectively. I thank you.
Honourable Member.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, this House debate the role of the Manufacturing Competitiveness Enhancement Programme in supporting and expanding the manufacturing sector after the first decline seen in the sector for 4 months, and that such a programme can play in supporting SMMEs in the sector. I so move.
Honourable Member from the ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. I move on behalf of the ANC that in its next sitting, the House debates protecting and nurturing small businesses as they have the potential to uplift the country's economy. So I move. Thank you.
Honourable Mponjane.
Thank you, House Chairperson. On behalf of the Nkata Freedom Party, I shall move on the next sitting of this House that the House debates the continued failures of the NSFAS to disperse funds to needy and poor students, and the high levels of fraud and corruption plaguing the NSFAS. I thank you.
Honourable Member.
Thank you, Chair. I move on behalf of the African National Congress, Lekgotla la Setjhaba, that in its next sitting, the House debates improvement of the state's capacity to investigate, prosecute, and convict those charged with corruption. I so move.
Does any member wish to give a notice of motion? Honourable Member.
Thank you, House Chair. I hereby move on behalf of the Democratic Alliance that at its next sitting, the House debate the poor performance of most government departments with regards to the service delivery improvement plans. So I move. Thank you.
Are there any motions? Thank you, honourable members. I have not seen any indication from any party that they would want to continue with notices of motion. We now move to motions without notice. Honourable Member.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the ANC, I move without notice that the House knows that more than 1,000 people are expected to take part in the 11th anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi's Salt March on the 29th of March this year, following the campaign launch on Sunday, the 1st of March. Further notes that the march is aimed at honoring the late freedom fighters Mahatma Gandhi and Inkosi Albert Lutuli for their role in fighting for peace and equality in our country. Recalls that the Salt March is an annual event in which people from all walks of life meet to celebrate the lives of Mahatma Gandhi and Inkosi Albert Lutuli, both of whom were vocal in their support for the development of a culture of nonviolence and Ubuntu. Further recalls that the Salt March originated in India in the 1930s and was an act of civil disobedience led by Gandhi to protest British rule in India. Believes that this march will help to promote goodwill and friendship among all South Africans, and wishes well all those who will be participating in this historic march. I thank you.
If there are no objections, I put the motion to the House. No objections agreed to. Are there any motions without notice? Honourable Member.
Thank you, House Chair. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this House notes the success of the 2014 matric class at Nsika Secondary School in Grahamstown, further notes that this class achieved an 81% pass rate in 2014, recalls that the pass rate at Nsika in 2012 was 28% and in 2013 was 62.3%, recognizes the outstanding commitment and leadership of Principal Madeleine Skuman in contributing to this success, and congratulates Ms. Skuman, all the teachers and the matric class at Nsika for this remarkable achievement. I so move.
If there are no objections, I put the motion to the House. No objections, agreed to. Honourable Member from the ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. I move on behalf of the ANC without notice that the House congratulate the former Minister of Justice Constitutional Development, Bridget Mabandla, on her appointment as a member of African Peer Review Mechanism Panel of Eminent Persons. Note that her appointment was announced during the meeting of the APRM in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia on Thursday, 29 January 2015. Recall that Ms. Mabandla replaced Honorable Balega Mbete, who stepped down after her election as the Speaker of the National Assembly in South Africa. Acknowledge that APRM was established in 2003 under the new Partnership for Africa Development and is an instrument that is voluntarily acceded by African Union member states. Further acknowledge that the mandate of the APRM is to ensure that the policies and practices of participating states conform to the agreed political, economic, and corporate governance values, codes, and standards on democracy, political, economic, and corporate governance as contained in the 2003 Abuja Declaration on Democracy, Political, Economic, and Corporate Governance, and wishes Ms. Mabandla much success in her new position and taking forward the mandate of APRM. Thank you.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections, agreed to. Are there any further motions without notice?
Thank you, Honourable House Chair. On behalf of the Democratic Alliance, I hereby move without notice that this House notes that at a time when Ebola cases have notably decreased, it should not forget the human cost of the current epidemic, which has claimed the lives of over 9,700 people, making it by far the deadliest outbreak of the disease on record. Also notes that the spread of the Ebola virus is due in large part to broken health systems in many countries on our continent, as indicated by a recent report published by Save the Children. Further notes that in our country we should ensure that there is sustained political will, as well as practical implementation plans that drive research for vaccines, treatments, and diagnostic tools. Congratulate the health professional community, including Doctors Without Borders, as well as our very own National Institute for Communicable Diseases, for their outstanding efforts at the front line of the Ebola epidemic. Remembers that the work is not yet done, and that we should resolve to never lower our guard against this deadly disease. I so move.
I now put the motion. Are there any objections? No objections, agreed to. Are there any further motions without notice?
Thank you, House Chair. On behalf of the majority party, I move without notice that the House notes that the University of the Western Cape Law Faculty has won the South African leg of the Just Up International Moot Court competition by beating the University of Pretoria in the finals on the 31st of January this year. Further notes that this great achievement qualifies the University of the Western Cape Law Faculty team to be the first team from the previously disadvantaged university to win the finals and stand a chance to represent South Africa abroad. Recalls that the Just Up International Moot Court competition is the oldest, largest moot court tournament in the world, comprising over 800 participating and competing universities. Congratulate the University of the Western Cape Moot Court team, namely Kesley Perumaslim, Rasi Ibrahim, Tony Damet, Hendrik Theron, for winning the regional qualifier of the Philip Jessup International Moot Court competition, and wishes them well in their preparation for the international rounds in Washington, D.C. from the 5th to the 11th of April 2015. I thank you, House Chair.
And now to the motion, are there any objections? No objections, agreed to. Are there any further motions without notice? No further motions. That concludes the business for the day and the House is adjourned.